Hi, I'm Kate. Welcome to Blooms in the Yard. I live in Shawnee, Kansas in Zone 6B. Today's video is titled, Have I Gone Crazy? Because I've done a couple wacky things this week. I don't think it's fallout from my bad news about the garden, but I have done some crazy things. So the first thing I did is that I planted a tree in the neighbor's yard. I did get their permission, although it was a little tricky because they are Hispanic and they don't really speak English very well at all. Eventually I got the message across and she was totally cool with it, but it took a couple of minutes because I was like, what word would mean invasive? I should back up. This all used to be invasive honeysuckle back here, and also in the neighbor's yard it used to be invasive honeysuckle. And so I cut all mine down, they cut all theirs down, except they left one kind of on the border of our property, just on their side. And I think that they left it just to have some privacy between us and them. And I've kind of, for the last few years, thought it would be nice to put something else there that's not this invasive honeysuckle. So this week I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna ask and go do it. And once she realized, she was like, oh, you changed. I was like, yes, I would like to change it. And then she was totally cool with it. So the next morning I got it with my little mini chainsaw and cut it down. And the reason that I thought now would be a great time to put something else there is because I decided in my sun border in the front garden that I'm wanting to replace some things with trees to give me a little more privacy. One of the things I decided to get rid of is my Limelight, which makes it's kind of sad. It's always hard to get rid of things, but I do want to have some taller trees. So I thought, well, that Limelight might do okay where the honeysuckle is. I did feel kind of weird when I was in the neighbor's yard cutting her tree down, but I did have her permission. Where I removed the Limelight, I ordered online a Frans Fontaine Hornbeam, which is a tree I've been wanting to try for quite a while. When it came, it looked not great, like really not great. I went ahead and planted it anyway, and then a couple days later, I dug it up and went and bought another one to replace it. So that's crazy thing number 2, is like planting trees and then digging them up a few days later and going and buying another one. So that's kind of what's been going on around here lately.
So this is my project for today, or I don't even know how far I'll get today. Maybe a several day project. This little tree here is invasive honeysuckle. It's right on the neighbor's property. This used to be all honeysuckle. This was all honeysuckle. Their entire backyard was all honeysuckle, or at least everything behind the fence. So they've cleaned all of that out. When they cleaned it out, they left this one. I'm gonna try to cut this down as much as I can and see how far I get today. I did use glyphosate on the trunk. There's only 2 things I would use such a strong chemical on, and those are poison ivy and invasive honeysuckle. I try not to use any chemical, but that was easier than I thought it would be, mostly because I didn't end up having to dig up the trunk. I realized there's plenty of space to plant what I want to plant there. So I just put the glyphosate on the stumps, and if it does start coming back up. I have discovered that eventually you can kill honeysuckle if you just keep cutting it down, but it takes 2 years or so. So anyway, my plan is to move the Limelight from the front yard back here. I started by removing about half of the flowers. I wanted to leave some so that the neighbors could kind of see how good it was gonna look, but I wanted to remove some of the flowers just to help the plant. When I started digging, I realized it was super dry, so I did go ahead and water it, and that also did help a little bit with the digging. I don't think you can really tell in the video, but I went from my regular shovel that I always use to my bigger shovel, and then finally ended on my third shovel, which is really long and skinny, like for fence posts, because that was the only thing that was long enough to really get down in there. And I don't think you can tell how heavy this was. It was very heavy, and it took this whole process from the time I started digging up the Limelight to getting it planted was an hour and a half. So it was quite an ordeal. Okay, there were several points along the way where I thought, I'm not gonna be able to do this. But all I can say is where there's a will, there's a way. So I just planted this tree. Haven't even watered yet. Should have done that first. I ordered it in the mail. It does not look fabulous. Not super happy with how it looked, but the buds look pretty healthy. See if I can. It's got some healthy looking buds. It obviously did not look, this didn't happen in the 2 days that it took to get here. I'm sure of that, but I'm hoping it will be okay. It is a Fontaine Hornbeam. So I removed that Limelight Hydrangea that was here a couple days ago. I think it was just yesterday time. I really wanted a tree here just to kind of block the neighbors. And this is something that I can I don't know exactly how I want to trim it, but I can, hornbeams, you can kind of trim how you want. So that was the main reason for choosing that kind. It also, I think, generally, not right now, but the leaves will look good. It's kind of a columnar. Something I saw online said 6 feet wide at 10 years. And then I've seen up to 15 feet wide, up to 20 feet wide, maybe 25 to 30 tall. If it tries to get wider than about 6 feet, I'll probably start trimming it. So these tall lilies, I haven't decided about them yet. So when the Limelight was here, I just kind of randomly placed these lily bulbs around the outside, and I really didn't like the look. It was kind of messy. I definitely want to put all of them in one place. There's 5 of them, so there's more back there. So there's 5 total. A few days ago, I planted a Fontaine Hornbeam, and when it came, it looked so sad, but I think it will be okay. I'm asking myself, do I want to wait 3 or 4 years? So all that to say, if they have a decent looking Fontaine Hornbeam at this plant sale, then I'll probably buy it. Today I'm going to a place I've never heard of before until last night, but I'm going to visit the Kansas plant farm. And an ad came up on my Facebook feed last night. They're normally only open by appointment, and today they're having a sale where they're open to the public from 9 to 2. They sell a ton of plants, it looks like, and for pretty decent prices.
So I was like, ooh, I need to go check this out. And I'd rather not have to make an appointment because I feel bad taking their time if I don't end up buying anything. I'd rather go when I can just kind of go browse and don't feel that pressure. I'm not going to spend $200 on this tree right now, which is how much it costs at our local nursery. I think it might even be $250. That's the main thing I'm looking at. I also just want to see the quality of some other things they have. I'm very excited about my plant field trip. I have a couple of things I might buy. I'm thinking maybe a stinking hellebore. I've heard that they maybe are a little more hardy, checking out the ironweed. So they have a ton of plants on their website, and I just thought, I think it's going to be a real treat. This is actually in a neighborhood, so I don't really know what to expect. I just left the Kansas Flower Farm. I did not take any video, but I did get some photos. I bought the Hornbeam. Overall, it was a good experience. It's kind of back in the end of a cul-de-sac, so there was a decent amount of parking. They said there was an 1.5 acres that they had on the end of this cul-de-sac. They had a ton of tropicals, some hardy tropicals, lots of cacti, some trees. You really had to kind of slog through the little forest of trees. I bought the Hornbeam, $40, and it looks way better than the other one. It actually has green leaves, so I'm excited about that. They didn't have the stinking hellebore, which is a bummer. One of my YouTube viewers suggested the ironweed Vernonia. You know, I wasn't sure about the specific kind. It didn't have the Latin name, so it just said iron butterfly weed. No, iron butterfly weed or butterfly ironweed, I'm not sure. So hopefully I don't regret that. And then the other thing I got that I didn't mention on the way, but I had seen it online last night, something I've been thinking about buying for a while, is bear's breeches, which are gorgeous. I mean, an amazing plant. They're a little bit, you don't see them everywhere here, but you know, they said they've got them growing in the ground. So I decided to give it a try. I feel like I got a great price on the Hornbeam, so I'm thrilled with that. The two perennials I got, the one guy told me 12, and then at the register another guy charged me 14. So I didn't want to argue about it. I felt like I'm getting a good deal with the Hornbeam. It's fine. You would kind of have to be a little bit knowledgeable about plants to find anything there, because like some things aren't labeled and there wasn't any pictures of what these plants look like when they're blooming. So if like 90% of the plants are not blooming in October, it can be overwhelming. Some things there looked really good and are a good deal. I think you'd kind of have to be aware of like what is a good price and what isn't, because some things I was like, oh, I think I could pay that much somewhere else and it would look better. So you kind of have to know, you know, what plants should look like, what they should cost. So, you know, if you're a plant person and you kind of know the plants and you would be able to recognize something as like, oh, that's something I've been looking for, this would be a fun place to go. Okay, so I've arrived back home and I just wanted to show you the 3 plants that I purchased. So this is the Vernonia. You can see it's coming out. Good sized plant. So ironweed or Vernonia, and it said iron butterfly weed. I'm hoping it doesn't get more than 3 feet. I probably should have been more careful about asking details, but this is the ironweed that I got, Vernonia, and hopefully it doesn't go too crazy on me. This one I'm excited about. This is the bear's breeches.
Acanthus mollis morning candle. So it's a little more white than purple. Yeah, there's Breeches morning candle. Zone 6 through 9. It says sun to part shade, 3 to 6 hours of direct sun. So the trickiest part for this is going to be deciding where I plant it. I'm thinking about doing it in the sun border on the northeast side of my Blue Point juniper. You know, ideally it'd be nice to plant it near the house to kind of have some ambient warmth in winter. But I'm just not sure that I can think of a perfect place for it. Soil says average, moist, well drained. So just like everything else in the world. Okay, so the big purchase, of course, was the tree. I think you'll be able to see why I went ahead and bought this other one. Right now, this is about as tall as I am, so about 6 foot, although in the container, so it'll probably be 5.5 feet in the ground. But to me, it's just much more worth it. Now, the roots are definitely coming out of this container in the bottom, but I still thought it was worth giving this one a go. So I'm currently in training to be a master gardener, and one of the many things that I have learned in the last month is that I really need to rough up the roots more, spread them out so that they're not circling the container. And so I spent a lot more time doing that on this tree than I have in the past. I had put a little chicken wire cage around this because the leaves were really close to the ground. I did some research, and rabbits can sometimes eat hornbeam, so I decided I would give it a cage to protect it for a little while. But this new tree is tall enough and the leaves are high enough that I don't think I'm going to need to worry about covering it at all from the rabbits. Totally giving up on this other little hornbeam yet. I figure I might as well stick it somewhere and see how it does. So I'm sticking it in my west side garden because when I come around here from the backyard, I just see this whole wall of the neighbor's house. And so I thought, well, if a little tree would grow here, that would give me a little bit of screening from that wall. And I do know that hornbeams can take some shade, so this will be a fun experiment to see how this little hornbeam does over here. I don't know how well you can see this right now. There's my tree. So the idea in putting it here is, if I can get backed up, when I walk through to my side from the back, when I walk down the side, this tree will be here to cover up the neighbor's house. Now, it's going to be less ugly soon. They said they're going to paint their house white, which is, not a terrible color. I'm here in my sun border, and honestly, I think it looks so much better sometimes just getting rid of stuff is what is needed, but I'm going to add something back in. So out of here, there was some more black-eyed Susans back there that weren't really doing much because they weren't getting any sun. There was one really sad, really tiny lily. Like it should be big like that. These are the stargazer lilies. So there was a little tiny one, and then there was another autumn joy sedum, which 2 years in a row my dahlia has laid on it, this dahlia. So I went ahead and cut it back and took it out. So that's what has left this bare area. I also had 2 big zinnias in here this season, which I took out earlier. So these gold mop cypress are getting bigger. See, I'll probably take that stargazer lily out too, but I'll put it somewhere else because it's at least a decent size. But yeah, I'm basically cleaning out some perennials that are getting crowded by these gold mop cypress. On this side, I already dug up this liatris, this big bunch of liatris from right here. You can see it was just way too close to the gold mop cypress. I also dug out from right here, there was a Russian sage. So here's the spot where I took out the one autumn joy sedum and I put in this bear's breeches. I'm proud of myself because it looks like it has a good amount of space. It's probably got 3 feet around. I took out the lily that was there, but I did leave this one for now. Then we move down here. The liatris that I took out from the other side of that gold mop cypress, I put in here. This is the area that I recently took the Limelight out of, and I added this tree, and I just stuck this here. It might not live here forever, but I need to go in and make dinner, so I stuck it there, and it'll be fine there for at least a year. This is the bee balm and this liatris. Those are nice and tall. And then with the tree behind, yeah, I think that'll be okay, at least for next year. And then over here, all I did was just clean out. So now this is kind of just less messy. Stargazer lily that was there, I put right here. So now at least they're all 3 together. That'll look like it makes a little more sense, even though they are still a little bit close to those gold mop cypress. But I think that will look a little bit better. And then I just can't quite take this dahlia out yet with that many blooms, but soon that will be gone. And when I cut back these lilies, then I'll have a good amount of evergreen interest between the blue spruce, the gold mop cypress, and this blue point juniper.
I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. And I'm curious if any of you guys have ever done anything crazy in the garden, or you just kind of had a crazy week where you kind of questioned all of your decisions later. Tell me about it in the comments.